Oh, we're going live.
All right.
So you're driving. I can't even imagine having to drive to work. I remember those days.
I like work though.
I love work, but
Yeah.
I used to be over the top with it, 6, 7 days a week. Like usually I would work 6 days a week, and I'd work from like 7 in the morning till anywhere from 7 to 10 at night.
Yeah.
And I did that for a long time. Then I'd sleep 12 hours on Sunday. But you were telling me, oh, I'm driving to work, and I remember I got transferred to Chicago, and I had to drive 23 miles to work, and it would take 2.5 hours.
Oh my Lord. I don't like work enough to drive 2.5 hours to it.
I
My
know,
commute is
23 miles. Then I
yeah.
moved. I was in Chicago. Then I moved to the lake. Well, I moved to the lakefront, and I would drive like 11 miles and get there in 14 minutes.
Yeah, that's the same with me. My commute's 10 minutes. So
Yeah,
easy peasy.
there you go. We got
No
11.
complaints.
We got 11 people in the house that's still hooking up. So I'm going to play the intro. Be right back. We got Hung the Nguyen in the house, the dragon lady.
What is that? I don't do that tongue thing, all right?
So I had to say something real quick. So let's see, what's today? Monday. So Friday and the Saturday were. I'm lucky because I'm doing all this energy stuff mostly in my body and lucid dreams. And not that I don't have to, 0 point stuff during the day as everything's presented to you, right? And so I woke up yesterday. Yesterday? Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was early yesterday. I woke up and we had the multi-stream service got cut off because we couldn't make the payment.
Yes, I saw your post.
Yeah, and so I was sitting there, and I was actually sitting with this because part of what I personally downloaded in regard to Sology and Ascension or whatever, my own little part has been introducing 5D commerce, which is based on paying it forward, making contributions, and we pay it forward from here when we are moved to and we have the funds, and it's always worked. But it's been funny because this period, we went down to to Texas. We got caught in that storm. We basically had to use everything we had. We came back with like $160. But that really wasn't it. It was more of like a collective thing happening. And I think this period of the last 2-3 weeks has been like, everyone I've talked to has said, man, they're just getting hammered. They're able to process it. Everything's cool. There's a lot of alone time. And there's just some weird stuff happening. So I've always been sensitive to my role in, helping the collective to establish this new equal energy exchange, 5D commerce, and all that. And then there's also been a lot of stuff emphasized in the last couple of weeks, for me anyway, about, and people have mentioned it on the show too, about asking our teams for help, right? Which, I've always said, if you ever think about the times in your life, even before the awakening, when you made an appeal to the universe, God, goddess, whatever, and how it always works when your heart's in the right place, So anyway, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, what do I do here? We got shows all week, and I'm trying to be, you don't push anything, you don't force anything, and we don't ever really reach out to the community. And not that that was a factor. It was just like, okay, what do I do? And I was like, okay, well, you ask the team for help, and now you're starting to have your team, all of us, materialize in the physical experience. So I just said, hey, the truth. I just said, we, the multi-stream service got cut off. Can you lend us a hand? And 150 people responded.
Yeah.
150 people. And it was almost overwhelming. It was a little bit shocking. It was almost a little, and this is the human wound, a little embarrassing, but it was also a validation for me anyway, at least from my perspective, to what will work in this new energy that we're embodying. Basically, my glasses are crooked. That looks weird. But anyway, I just want to say thanks to everybody for your continued love and support and contributions. This helps a lot, because this actually helps us up until we go to Sedona, which, was going to be a bit of a challenge. And so I just want to say thanks to everybody. And we're going to keep on trucking, because sometimes it gets a little bit difficult. And it's the messages I receive every day from people. And of course, what happened yesterday and all the comments and everything. And the messages, the personal messages, have just been phenomenal. That's what it's all about. So I just want to say thanks to everybody.
You know what? That is a great topic, I feel, to launch into, because I feel in this community, talking about commerce or monetary wealth or anything like that, the community tends to skirt around it instead of just like tackling it intentionally head on and speaking it in these like poetic ways, like abundance, which drives me bonkers. Yeah. Because one of the things is with the current energetic stream that's coming in, whatever you are thinking, it's going to manifest it. So it's kind of, it manifests instantly. So for yourself, I think a lot of people feel the way you do when it comes to asking for help, especially when it's financial help. And it's always about the financial help people are embarrassed to ask for help for. Because any other help, like, hey, can you help me move? Or do you want to make dinner? Like stuff like that is easier to ask for.
Right.
For whatever reason. But when it comes to that, it's harder for the light workers in this community to say, this is what I focus on. And in order for me to keep going without like having the fear of just kind of living day to day. I mean, some people love living day to day. So if you love living day to day and that's your thing, I am not downplaying that. I know a lot of people that love to fly by the seat of their pants. That's their adrenaline rush. And they love basically pivoting on the moment. It gives them that adrenaline kind of dopamine injection that keeps them feeling alive, right? That's totally cool. There are a lot of people that are like that too. There also are a lot of people that, like myself, that start hyperventilating if there's a certain amount of buffer that comes down and I can't focus on anything else but that diminishing or lack, right? So it's just one of the things, one of the things about asking for help is not really asking for help. It's more about a reminder that for you, Todd, this is not like a passion project for you. It's not like a side hustle where that you have another, where, on Saturday and Sundays, you do something else to kind of earn your income so that you can have your basics met. We're just talking basics. We're not talking like you and Morgan go on vacation at 5 stars every like third week or something like that.
Right.
You guys are so humble. And I feel that if you don't basically vocalize that this is your main stream of income, and contributions are important, because contributions is not about accumulating wealth. Contributions is you can clean the monetary system with your intention. It does not have to be demonized, right? Saying that if you make money or if you spend money, whatever you do with money, it does not need to be demonized. The monetary system was created as a very clean, like, energy exchange. It only just recently kind of got bastardized and corrupted. But you can actually, just like what you're doing, is if you have a certain amount that you're comfortable with, then you pay it forward to other contributors in your community. So for everyone out there, if you don't say anything, they may assume that you're comfortable, like you're sitting on buckets of money. So they don't have a need to. So it's one of those things where it's just like all the practitioners out there, all of the broadcasters, everyone in this community, you don't need to demonize monetary wealth. You can definitely repackage your perception on it. You can call it different things, whatever makes you feel better about it, but it doesn't have to be demonized. There are some people that do really well with the money aspect, but they feel unfulfilled, in life. And they're like, they're not, they wake up, they're not like inspired to move forward, but they have tons of financial abundance just sitting there in the bank account. But then if they hear someone that doesn't have that and needs a little bit of help, it's their way of moving that energy forward. When you move that energy forward, the biggest thing right now is you must move energy forward, whether it be if you have abundance of your time or abundance of knowledge, or you have abundance of heart or abundance of money. You must move that energy forward, because if you keep it within you, you will become stagnant and manifest it in physical illness, right? So it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm not surprised when you finally realize that, I do need some financial assistance to keep this platform going, because I'm not sure how much, what is the cost of Restream? Just out of curiosity.
Restream's $100 a month.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's just like, if you want to be out and broadcasting and sharing the wisdom, sharing the love, sharing insight, all of that, there is some cost associated to it.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of running to the very part where you start hyperventilating and you're kind of like, okay, we don't have enough to keep this going. Of course, if you ask for help, I'm not surprised that like 150 people slap you with so much love that you start crying, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And so I just will convey this, because I've always understood it as the individual goes, so goes the collective. I always heard that since I woke up. So it's not like, like you said, you share, and the energy of that movement is what actually expands the new energy. So like in my own situation, this has been an ongoing thing. The Arcturians came in 2018, summer 2018, and they fed me all this stuff, which was kind of like the main download. And there's been a few other ones. It involves what you're talking about. At that time, I started to follow what I was told, which was to basically pay forward like 30%, which is what we do. There's people that help us. There's no contracts. There's no there's no agreement. But anytime things come in and start to you start to have extra, we pay it forward. Morgan will do it through her own stuff. I'll do it through the Sology stuff. We don't even talk about it. We just do it. And sometimes to other people outside of the core that's, assisting Sology. But anyway, so the two parts that I thought were, that might be helpful to people is, so what ended up happening was yesterday morning, I came and sat here in the studio and I was like, what the F, I had a meeting with the universe a couple nights before. I'm like, look, we're back in the same place. We're following the guidance, and from a place of equality, not from like, my knees pleading. I'm not going there, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do that anymore. This has been part of what I've learned. So I just said, look, you guys, we need some help. And so that's where I left it, and may it work out in the highest best interest for all involved. So then I sat here in silence and contemplation, and I just kind of waited. And then I just knew, that intuition is not always like spoken word, at least for most of the people I know, including myself. It's never spoken word. It's just this feeling, right? It's this other form of communication that we're familiar with that's coming on stronger. So I was like, oh, this is what you have to do. So I didn't even think about it. I just wrote what happened, and I just put what I put, and then that was it. So number one, then I ended up getting like this huge rush, this huge, that when the energy comes in, you get drowsy. And I went upstairs, I went to sleep, I got up and there was like 136 people. And I was like, holy crap. And I came down and sat down again. And then I was told, this is how it works. All of you, they weren't speaking to me. It was like, you're worthy. Your efforts are worthy and they're being reciprocated. And in order for them to be seen on a wider basis, like so many other aspects of the ascension, it needs to be talked about, it needs to be shared, and it needs to be engaged. So that was the one thing. And then the second thing, the big one, which I'd never really gotten before to this degree, excuse me, was inspired action. So I'm like, inspired action, right? And I started typing something up, like, am I supposed to share something? So inspired action, a lot of times you think inspired action is, oh, I'm going to charge up this mountain, or I'm going to, do something like kind of like in an alpha-esque kind of way, but it's not. As I was understanding it, as I was sitting with it, inspired action is listening to that intuition and taking action with it. And then it went on to explain to me that, okay, you have all this information out there, all of you. There's all this information. Whatever you need, you'll find, and that can be good and that can be bad, because you can find what you're looking for, like talking to someone who's going to tell you what you want to hear, or you can find something that's new and a revelation, an epiphany type of thing. So inspired action, as it was explained to me, was, look, you got all this stuff out there, and the one thing that holds true for everyone is if you take inspired action and you follow the guidance in the moment spontaneously, that will kind of be like a catalyst or a turbocharger for the equation of our, in the equation of our desire to grow and to expand and to learn more and all that stuff. So that's what came out of it. And I just thought I'd share that with everybody.
Hold on, keep talking.
You got a burglar.
Hold on, keep talking.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's actually how we're pursuing the Sology Fest too, as well. As we formed a committee, an initial committee of 50% representation, masculine and feminine, and we're also working out the final details of the actual schedule, and it's going to be presented in the same way. And the reason I mention that is because it's another example of, and of course there's more than me, of inspired action, actually putting into the physical experience through our thoughts, words, and efforts what we've all been downloading, right? As opposed to running on these programs like you were talking about earlier at the top of the show, where we're being dominated and orchestrated by our own conditioning, which we're breaking through now. So yeah, there we go. Okay. What else? There was something else we were going to talk about. You remember what it was?
Let's talk about Sedona.
You want to talk about Sedona? All right.
Yes, let's talk about Sology Fest. So you have had, so Sology Fest is happening end of May. Right now, it's 2.5 day event. There may be a freebie third day added to it. And we have put together a committee that represents basically gender balance, different expressions. And right now, the tickets are live, so you can definitely purchase them. It is an early bird pricing at $488 for 2.5 days. And there will be 3 meals provided during those 3 days.
Snacks and drinks. And snacks and drinks.
Snacks and drinks. Don't forget about the snacks.
Yeah, because they're long days. So the Saturday and Sunday are long days. So yeah, we're gonna have snacks and drinks.
So what inspired you to do Sology Fest? Because that is a huge undertaking, like huge undertaking.
Yeah. Well, so I met Morgan in officially met her September the 3rd in 2015. And so I'd been in the studio off the streets for about a year, maybe a year and a half. And I was I had been downloading Soulogy specifically and Soulogy One Studios since 2012. And somewhere along the line, before I met her, I was shown Sology Fest. I was shown a lot of different things, but I was shown the Sology Fest thing. And basically it was, not necessarily a literal, oh, go have a Sology Fest. That's not how it started. It started more like this vision. And again, this wasn't my conception. This was just me receiving. And it was like this vision of the whirling dervishes, the Sufis. And they would travel in a caravan, and they would go to different villages and stuff, and they would set everything up, and they would have food and art and dance and music and fellowship and so on, and basically spread the energy of I am soul through this method rather than through doctrine and stuff like that, right? So it went on, and about 13 months went by from the time I met Morgan. And I left Houston for the last time. I went on the streets again, basically, except for now I had Sology, and we had about 18,000 people in the community. We have over 100,000 now. And so I just went on my thing. And that's when I started to get specifically this Sology Fest thing. So then in 2017, by a year goes by, or maybe a few months, it's in 2017, and I'm typing, we're going to have a Sology Fest. It's going to be next month. And, putting my foot in my mouth over and over again, because I was getting the download. It was so clear. I would even see like videos of it. I'd see myself on stage. I'd see the place it was happening. And so I thought that the magic worked much quicker then, like it does now. And so, we traveled. When Morgan came over, we traveled around. We would have 3 or 4 day notice soul gatherings that were very spontaneous. They were very cool. They were always very, very, very activating. And so that kind of was like the precursor to it. But our friends at Vibrational Empowerment Network, they hit me up, and there's a big story behind that, how we met, all the synchronicities. And they said, hey, we'd like to, because they put on festivals. Jade Lyons has been doing it for 20 plus years. And Christy Grace, who's got her own entity, they've already collaborated and done a huge show in 2019, in Sedona. But bottom line is I said, let's talk about this. Let me talk to Morgan. He gave me a couple of dates. I went to talk to Morgan, and it just turned out that the date we chose is also the most powerful few days I've had every single year since 2009. The last, few days of May, first couple of days of June, including the fact that on May the 30th, which will be that Sunday, that's actually the 10-year anniversary on the physical timeline of Sology. It's the 10-year anniversary. That's the date that it all started. So there's a lot of alignment there. That's kind of the background behind it.
And what inspired you to put this basically festival together in the way that you have? Because there's lots of I'm going to say product of gathering around where people do conferences, people do workshops, do a retreat where you sit there and you meditate and wear tie-dye. So what's unique about Sology Fest in comparison to the other venues that people can attend?
Well, I think it's basically a carryover of what I have understood. And let me just answer the question first, just real briefly. One, I would say, why did it go down this way? I'd have to say at least half of this, really probably more, is Morgan. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like, you're going to go do this. And here we are, masculine, feminine, right? It's weird how it actually fits the characteristics of each one of the genders if you look at it from an energetic level. So the masculine's going out to create something. And that's been the way it's been in the past, even including online things, businesses, whatever you want to call it, in a patriarchal system. So she said to me, you have an opportunity to, embody and actualize that which we've received, which is the feminine rising, right? Which has always been a huge part. It is really Sology trying to mirror what's occurring or assist and mirror what's occurring on the earth. But anyway, the other part would be, so since I downloaded Sology. I was given the name Sology and all that in 2012. Two years went by. I was off the streets. I had my own place. I hadn't started the studio, and I was downloaded. Go downstairs, clear out your downstairs, and make a studio. That's what I was told, and I'm like, what are you talking about? So I did. All this furniture showed up mysteriously over the next 3 or 4 days. Like 4 people, hey, I'm moving. You want a couch? And they've having like 6 couches down there. And anyway, that's how it went. My point is that whenever that happened, which was actually Sology was given to me on Morgan's birthday. I didn't know her. And SoulogyOneStudios was given to me on Morgan's birthday. I didn't know her. Okay. 2 years later. But anyway, I was shown, because I said, like, what am I supposed to do? Because I was writing a lot, and poems and just prose and just commentary. And I was told, turn on some music and you'll figure it out. So that's kind of how the artistic part of Sology came into play. So the reason I said that is because as I've understood it since that point, and as time has gone on, I've always understood that it's supposed to use, well, the adage is continue adding frequencies to an ever expanding vibration, meaning add more and more and more into this expanding sea of soup, soul soup, and add all ingredients. Nothing's left out. Everything's included. And part of that is the diversity of the expressions in both let's say the perspectives, but also in terms of how people receive and what they receive from infinite intelligence. So there's a blend of, a verbalization, music, light language, color, vibration. I mean, so that's kind of the approach. I've been to quite a few conferences, including in Sedona. There is a certain template or culture or and I noticed this. I actually noticed this the first time I went to Sedona. I got offered to go cover this conference by my friend Tolik, and I went over there. And the first thing that it was impressed upon me was it was so patriarchal. And this is not cutting anyone down. This is just where we were, and we're all changing as the universe is always expanding. So I went, and it was a very patriarchal, stodgy kind of. And I was in Sedona. I was like, wow, this is weird. This is weird. Well, I thought it would be more, and then what happened after that was I had several females come to me that I met, some that are good friends now. And they said, like, man, they thought, is Sology going to be in Sedona? Because at the time I was downloading, go to Sedona and we're going to boost your signal. I thought we were going to be doing it in Sedona. I didn't know they were going to have me flat on my back during the day and behind the microphone at night, because I was getting inundated by, galactic and angelics and other types of essences, dragons. But anyway, what they told me was that what I had observed, that it was very dominated by the patriarchal. And I was like, wow. I came back a year later with Morgan. It changed a little bit. I went to some more conferences. The conferences are typically somebody gets up and talks, you take a break. Somebody gets up and talks, you take a break. And I knew, and we both knew, that's not the way to go. Now, we had stopped in Sedona. Shakina Rose had a rain check because of a snowstorm at a community center in West Sedona. So she gifted it to us, and we called 2-3 days in advance. We called a soul gathering. And for 4 hours, we this is kind of how it's set up too. Even, and again, this is really an energetic pattern. So you got an allotted amount of time. Let's say that's 100 degrees. We might set up and structure 60% of that, and the other 40 is left for spontaneous, in the moment types of things, which also gives us the advantage of getting creative in terms of what we can do during that time. And so that's what happened in the 4-hour Soul Convergence in Sedona a couple of years ago or whatever it was. And that's what will happen now. So we have space allotted 14 hours in those 2.5 days, and probably 6 hours on Monday for that event, which I know we're going to have. We're just not quite sure where we're going to have it now. We have a good idea. But so, just imagine, I would like MC, or we might have another MC, walks out to the audience and starts to do have a conscious conversation with somebody in the audience. We think that's a really powerful element. This is what this show's about. And, you know, I've been to these things. I did one in Florida last year, impromptu with some brothers. And people got up, man, and they started testifying. Like it was so, I mean, it was so bold and courageous, some of the stuff I saw. I mean, women were in tears. And at that particular one woman got up and said, let me tell you what happened to me. I got molested. I just left my husband after 37 years. I'm breaking this pattern, this loop. She started going off. Then this other lady got up. Then this other lady got up. And the third one got up and said, I was a prostitute and a crackhead, an addict for 11 years. And here I am now. You know, I am woman, hear me roar. I mean, just some amazing things can happen. It's happened many of the times that we've had gatherings. And I think we've probably had about 7 or 8 total. So we're going to just try to replicate that. But that's how it came about. You know, that's how it came about.
All right. So that was very long-winded. Thank you. So to summarize.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know.
You talk.
To summarize, what I love about, Todd and Morgan have intentionally created a very different program. So we, in terms of like how the events are rolling out, which I think is very different from conferences or retreats. I feel the energy of the older models, like you said, there's a very, it's very templated. Like it's everything that comes through when you attend a conference or a workshop is top down, basically information where you sit there. And I'm not like the type of person that can sit very well anyway. So I start becoming the heckler in the background that just starts saying shit just to stir up shit. Because this generation of awakened people have so much to share, but they don't have confirmation if what they're sharing is like their own unique experience or other people are going through it. There are some people like yourself who have always been courageous and put yourself online and said, here's my story. This is crazy, but it becomes more familiar and you become a little bit more normalized. And I think the biggest thing about this Sology Fest, which is so different from all the other programs, is you have programmed in so much interactive time where the attendees can participate depending on how brave you feel or your set of balls, or this is your breakout YouTube moment, whatever you want. You have a captivated audience. No one really can go anywhere. So there you go. The great thing about it is I'm going to piggyback on what you said on group gatherings. So I basically have, I think 3 years ago, I facilitated 2 or 3 gatherings. There was about 40-ish people, and we didn't have any structure because Rick Jewers was the guest, and Rick Jewers hates structure. So that was all thrown out. They basically just showed up, and everyone piled into the store. And so I own a boutique furniture store, and I'm an interior designer. So my store is set up to handle a lot. We have lots of comfortable seating. Everyone's just piled on couches, and it's like meeting your soul family that you didn't know you had. Yeah. And it's so great because there's so many different flavors of weirdness. Once you immerse physically with someone else, you realize you're actually quite normal compared to like Todd Medina. You feel better about yourself. But the other thing that is such an intrinsic value that it's hard to articulate in words because there's just so much to it. When you are in the frequency of a soulmate, and when I say soulmate, I'm not talking about twin flame or that crap. I'm talking about like someone that actually has the same frequency as you. When you're in the same, but perhaps that person's frequency is a little bit cleaner and more amplified because they have done a lot more inner work. When you're in the physical frequency of that, what happens is you get triggered. And the triggering is not a pretty thing. So when you come to these things, expect to be raw, vulnerable, and exposed. Yes. You will mentally break down. And that is a good thing. It accelerates. It's like having a zit that has been festering on your face for years, and you have been so scared of popping it. You come to these things, well, that shit just comes out, right? And it just nonstop gushing of bullshit old programming that you've been holding on for way too long, and it's just time to go. It's time to go. So when you go through this, there will be situations where you come home and you feel like you're having an existential crisis, I think is the best way to describe it. If you haven't been around these communities, like Todd has been acclimatized. He's been hanging out with weirdos since forever, right? But if you're new to this safe zone, you will be cuddled and coddled through it for the 3 days. But when you go home, you will lose your shit. Everything that is you're attached to, that doesn't serve you anymore, whether you like it or not, all of that gets cleaned out of your system. And then you go through different, like you start grasping onto like who you are, what fulfills you, why are you here, does this even matter? Like you go through all of that on such an amplified frequency that everything in your life, all the anchors that were superficial basically start dissolving. So if you need that push, attend Soulogy Fest. There are so many keynote speakers that have that gene code to trigger you, whether you like it or not. So it's kind of like a passive aggressive way, but you can also go in intentionally, of course. If you're intentionally attending because you want to find a bigger circle, or if you really want someone else to help you with popping your own zit, that is like basically, that's the energy of Soulogy Fest. And there's so much time allotted to attendees' participation. So like Todd was saying, if you were a closet poet, or what else is there? Whatever creative expression you come encoded with and you want to share, this is your moment. And it feels so cathartic when you basically have an audience that can give you feedback and recalibrate and confirmations and affirmations that all that time you weren't living in your own cave. There's been lots of other people that need that connection. So I think that's the key of Soulogy Fest. And it's very playful. Like we're not talking strict dogma when it comes to programming and speakers. There will be structure in there, of course, to make sure that all the speakers have allocated enough time to share their wisdom and everything. But it's super playful. Like I saw the lineup that Todd and Jade was working up, and there's a good rhythm of download wisdom. So like Franco, if you haven't been watching Franco, the guy's like an energetic encyclopedia. He will talk your ear off. And then there's like some performers that are very a little bit more flowy, right? Like Michael, who will go through a different kind of rhythm. So I like the playfulness of it and the structure of it. There's a lot there, and the fact that it's a little bit more intimate. So the venue that Todd has secured with Jade is we can only have 85 tickets maximum. And then there's going to be 15, so a total of 100, just to keep the 15 people will be your support team. So guiding you through everything on it, and also making sure that you are well fed, you're watered, showing you where the potties are, all of that, and where to park. So all the mundane things. But it's one of those things there's also an opportunity, which I love, and I don't think a lot of other festivals offer this, or any kind of gatherings, is any of the practitioners, you can book one-on-one time with them when they're not on the main stage. So you can meet, whoever it is that you want in person. So for example, Morgan Lee, who's practically a unicorn, she's never on camera. It's like one of those urban legends. You hear about her all the time.
She did a show yesterday.
I saw that. I haven't had a chance.
That was an excellent show. I thought that was the best. I think the most relaxed I've ever seen her on. Yeah, she was very good.
But she never is on camera. She's actually going to be there. So if you wanted to book some sessions with her, or with Franco, or with anyone else, Jason, is it Estes? I always pronounce his last name wrong. Jason, and so there's lots of cool personalities that you can meet in the flesh, which is really fun too. It's always when you're following someone on camera and you see them in person. Of course, you fangirl a little bit, right? And then you realize they're very normal people, very boring, but very. So that also is going to be fun. So yeah, if you haven't already, The early bird tickets are $488, and then the price goes up at what date, Todd?
I think August the 4th or 5th.
It's not August. The show is May.
I mean, April. April.
Oh
It
my
starts
Lord.
with an A. I knew it started with an A.
So April 1st, it goes up to the regular price, which is $555.
Yeah,
For anyone that can't travel, there will be a live stream option where you will get basically interactive, but you're basically not physically there for $111. And anyone that needs accommodations have been packaged in, and that is an option for $220. And it's more of, it's not like private bathrooms with every bedroom. So if you're the type of person that kind of needs their own, this accommodation may not be a fit for you. But if you like you're the type of person that likes sharing your space with everybody, including toilets, this is great. It's $220 for 3 days. And how many people are in there? 20
total.
20.
Yeah, that's 222 total for 3 nights. It's at a retreat center owned by Karen Golden. It's called goldenlightretreatcenter.com. I've stayed there. It's nice. It's very nice. And but that time of year, that's the busiest weekend of the year in Sedona. And
Because
so
we're leading up to Memorial Day, right?
yeah, it is Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's why we're going to have the extra day. We're going to put something free on, but yeah, that weekend you're going to spend, if you can find a room, at least $200. Right now there's I checked about a week ago, there was 40 hotels available, anywhere from 70 way outside to 150, but that'll drop quick, because I've had to book in Sedona many times, and you can be paying a lot of money, $150, $200 a night. So it's a good option for people.
Yes. So, and how many is it for 20?
20, there's 24 and 2 are taken. So there's 22.
So 22 beds. It's basically going to be like a orgy fest.
No, it's not an orgy fest. It's a retreat center. It's a very sacred place.
Yes, it's sacred.
Yeah, it's there's no smoking, no dogs, no cats, no pets. It's a very quaint, beautiful little place. If you've ever been to Sedona, it's on the same street as Chocolate Tree. She lives there right down the street. Very beautiful place. Very cool. Good energy. But they're going to be at the festival anyway, all the time. So they're just going there to sleep, take a shower.
And the tickets can be purchased on SoulogyFest.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, the tickets and the add-on. Yeah, they added the add-on. So
very good.
And then we're created a bulletin board for people to coordinate rides and stuff like that, because some people have talked about coming from other states if they can ride with somebody.
Yeah. So Mr. Dr. Delaney says if there's an orgy fest, he's on his way. So you better.
It's been a powerful 3 days for me. I'm sitting here half off planet, but absolutely we might as well just let it rip. It's Monday morning. Just might as well just let it rip.
Why not? You never know, right? What kind of connection?
Let's jump in it. Yeah, let's see it.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said you can hashtag this soul orgy. That probably.
Oh my God, that's funny. Christy, what's her name? Christy Hobbs. She said something funny a minute ago. I put it up. That was funny. Oh no, I can't find it. So it was a play on what you were talking about. I put it up.
Well, it's going to be.
She said that what you were describing when you leave an experience like that and you go home and you go through what you go through. She was describing it as an energy enema.
Yes, it is. It really is. And if any of you guys want to become detached from your bank accounts, I will take up your bank account. I'm a team player like that. So hit me up.
So, oh man, that's funny.
But it is going to be very different. I feel like it's one of those things where a lot of people don't understand, because if you're and also coming out of this weird COVID situation. A lot of us have been in isolation for almost a year, where you haven't been able to have contact with other people. So it's going to be a pretty powerful event. Like, weird things really do happen. When we had it here, we actually had a portal open up right before the store doors, where everybody, and we weren't doing drugs. Okay. It's a very clean event.
So this was in your place, right?
This was right outside my store. A portal opened up where all the smokers were hanging out. And at first I thought it was just a halo of smoke. I don't smoke, so I'm just sitting there.
That was probably Rick. Rick's always got a halo of smoke around his head.
So it was one of those things where everyone that was left over, that was kind of just loitering by it, I kicked everyone out after a while, because what happens is in a closed environment like that, I wasn't prepared. One of my own personal stories is I got so nauseous. I think after 3 hours, I started getting really nauseous. Like I was going to totally yak my meal, and I had to kick everyone out. And I was just like, I love my store, man. Okay, that's good. I don't need any more of you guys in there. So everyone moved out, and then kind of hung out front after I locked them out of the store for another hour, and a portal appeared, and it was so crazy because it looked exactly like a dragon's eye, and there was several confirmations. It wasn't just Rick and I that can see it. There was tons of other people that were there that could see it as well. So it's one of those things where if you haven't had a visual come through for you yet, but you've always wanted to have that visual confirmation. I know not everyone's gifts are like that. Weird things happen all the time when you do that. And I believe, so portals, there's lots of crazy things that happen when you have that type of energy all together, for sure.
Well, you were talking about it happening after you go. And my experience has been that they can also happen while you're there. And I think if I think about it, that's occurred more frequently as time's gone on. I've seen it more. And it's happened to me. And it's happened to me in Sedona. And it's happened to Morgan in Sedona. So Sedona is a very, very powerful place. It's in the moment, just popped up on the path for us for Soulogy since 2018. We've been there 6 times, and it's always been just hugely expanding. But I think that, but this is part of it too. I mean, part of what I think is a big part of Soulogy is that people go, oh, wow, this is a place. I thought I was the only one that this happened to. In other words, people send me messages and they'll make comments and they'll say, I thought I was alone until I found this place. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of Soulogies, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that to go to a place and have a meltdown, to get a download, to experience what you experience alone when we go into hibernation, to be with people that are experiencing and acknowledging the same thing in that kind of field of support, that's a very powerful thing. I think it's new territory. And I think at the end of the day, this is what we're getting to, is where we get past the point of embarrassment and say, man, this shit's real, isn't it? It's kicking my ass or whatever the case is, right? I mean, there's nothing to hide. There's nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about. And I think we're starting to get comfortable with that. So I think this type of energy, especially with being a physical experience, I think will be a huge opportunity for expansion.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like I got a download probably midweek last week. I was out camping in the mountains, and midweek I got this weird word that popped in my head. And I'm not a tech person by any means, right. But this word that came in, and it was basically, I had to look it up. I can't remember what the word is. I want to say defamation. Defamation. I think that's the word. I had to look it up because I kind of knew what it meant, but it totally was not the word that I thought it was. So when I looked it up, it's basically meaning it's a programming word in the computer world. So this is actually a computer word. And what it means is when you're writing new code, it's replacing all the old codes. So that's how, but what happens is those codes are built on old codes. So the new coding is built on old codes. That's the 3D version of programming. So what happens is those old codes still sit in your system, And depending on the trigger level, it can reactivate, which is super annoying, right? Like you've done all this work and then it gets reactivated.
Right. I can relate.
So,
Keep going. This is good.
yeah. So what happened? And that was basically the flow of healing in 3D, and it's called healing because you basically go over an old wound, but that wound still sits in your system. So
Right.
if you actually accidentally reactivate and get re-triggered, you will go through that trauma and suffering again, right? So it never really goes away. It just depends on what kind of environmental triggers are coming at you. The new programming actually wipes out the new coding that's coming in actually
Right.
wipes out your old codes. You no longer carry any of those trauma codes. So what is happening is a lot of people are becoming, if you get to that level of coding in your journey, it's conscious expanding. Basically, you jumped through the trauma and
That's right.
you're kind of lost, right? So you're not attached to anybody. You're not attached to anything. Things that used to excite you, inspire you, scared, all that, there's nothing to it. It's a very bizarre feeling. So this new system that's coming in blows out your trauma codes, replaces it with creation codes. So whatever you want. But you go through a crisis because all the old stories no longer carry any weight for you. And people identify with trauma. Like you become a warrior after you got beat up, right? Like you don't just instantly become a warrior. You have to go through like suffering and pain and all this and to end up with this label of warrior. But when that is all taken away from you, you're kind of left in this void, like, I don't know what I am anymore. I don't know what to do. So that is like the new programming. And I feel like there has been some key people in our community that have reached that level and where they're kind of sitting in nowheresville. And Morgan Lee is actually a really good archetype for that. And she's written tons of posts, kind of synchronistically at around the same time that I was downloading this information, where she was merging with her father archetype and then her mother archetype. And she was just basically posting out that she doesn't feel attached. She doesn't feel. So our human experience is all about emotionality and feeling. So this area of non-feeling, it's very uncomfortable. So I feel like that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, you know what? That was a brilliant effing explanation of what's happening right now. I've picked up over the last few days that in interacting with people and seeing comments and getting messages that there's been some kind of blast. And I'm going to say it happened right on her birthday. It's crazy. I remember getting the thoughts, and I remember having a lucid dream right afterwards. And the dream was one of those dreams that was like moving really fast. And at the very end, I was looking in her eyes, and it was almost like a click. And we were looking at each other, and it was like, we got this. And then everything started happening. But I was going to say that it's like we're getting to a point where something's changed so drastically. Like the way you explained it was perfect. We think of conscious living or ascending as I'm going to go do this particular process or modality. And I think that's true. And will it still hold true? I don't know. And I'm going to go move a little higher. I'm going to move a little higher. But like you said, you're building on a construct of code that's got the old code in it. You're trying to perfect something that's got a old code. This new energy sweeps in, wipes it all out. So your emotional body, your physical body, your mental body is like, what the F? And then at the same time, you've got this like mirror in your face, and you're welcome to the world of conscious living, because it's a constant frequency of your integrity's looking you in the face, your courage, everything's looking you in the face. It's not letting you go anywhere. It's not letting you blame anything on other things or other people. And it just seems like it's been very swift to me. How long do you think it's been going on?
I would say probably in some of the ones that have been consciously working on themselves, probably since December, to be honest. Yeah. And one of the other thing I wanted to share, which is a very unpopular opinion, which I'm all about, is COVID-19 is coded as a virus. And whether it was man-made or manipulated made or natural God-made, doesn't matter. What has somewhere in the mutation of COVID-19 is basically clearing out your old programming, that it's no longer there. So when you're talking about holding your mirror up, what is really scary, especially for me on some days, I look in the mirror and I don't recognize myself anymore. So then you go through this, like, if you don't recognize yourself and you don't have any, you don't have the labels that you used to be so proud of, you know, where you're like, I did this and I did that. It doesn't matter anymore. Like, it doesn't have any, it doesn't inspire me, doesn't make me scared, doesn't do anything. It's like saying a very mundane thing like elbow, right? When you look at, you're like, oh, here's an elbow. So what? That's what it looks like. You're like, what is the point? Why am I here? You know,
no, this is the real stuff. Have you ever seen that movie Signs with Mel Gibson? And,
yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, every now and then Morgan will have this thing where she'll say, I feel like watching this movie. Now, we've seen it before. And I just had this feeling that there would be a reason. You know, it's like the second time I've seen it, so I was noticing a lot more things anyway. But anyway, as I'm watching the show and they're introducing the ET invasion and they show this clip and the music's going and all this, and I'm watching this and I'm actually watching, it was weird. I hope I can explain it. But it was a moment like you just described, because I was cracking up in this serious movie because I was watching how we just kind of put this together and how the machine was working. And it was actually showing me where it was dropping, let's say, subliminal messages or programming, whatever you want to talk about, to create the reality that we've been going through. And I was watching it from a place and I was laughing. I was laughing during these serious scenes because I was like, oh my God, this is fucking perfect. It's beautiful what we did. And I could also see how we've gotten to the point we're at now, which, you know, what you're talking about, which is all this, it's like every single thing that we would call 3D is gone.
Yeah.
It's like totally gone. Like your relationship with your children. If it's not been affected, it's going to be affected. Every single thing. And I'm talking about in terms of, like you said, what we thought we were and how we did things. I mean, and then you throw into the mix telepathy, right? So here we're having these interactions with people, and we've gone from, you know, message back real quick, message back real quick. I got to get back to this. And that's all going away. And it's like, hey, man, I'll do it when I get there. Kind of, you know, free flowing, unobstructed, energetic mentality. And I think some of it's just kind of like not going to go away. Like, I really feel like we've crossed something, or we're crossing something.
And I think the thing, like for myself, when you hold up the mirror and you don't recognize yourself anymore, and all your stories, everything kind of goes away, you're kind of at the point where, for me, it's kind of like, well, now what? Like, I don't, and so then you hear things pop into your head. When you say now what? Things pop into your head. So some of the things that pop into my head is like, well, I guess it's time to die. Like, what else is there to do? I don't know what else there is to do. You know what I mean? Because this whole
man, I ain't dying. I didn't come this far to stop now, man. I want to see how this thing plays out. Hell, we don't know. It could be like some inferno. The whole world blows up.
Of course.
We all burn for 1,000,000 Earth years, and then we come out in heaven, and God poops us out or something. I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's just kind of one of those things. Is like, I'm not sure what the next creation level looks like. Of course, there's tons of narratives that you can like manifest. You can manifest unicorns, dragons, whatever makes your fancy. But even that doesn't excite me anymore. You know, kind of thing is just kind of like, I don't know. It's very strange. I feel like if I was a drug addict, I'd be going for the harder drugs. You know, just to experience something different. But because we're in this you don't know what to do, so you're just sitting there, I don't know what else to do. I guess I can live out this 3D life with my old labels, or perhaps what's really happening and everyone's actually like, holy shit, is we're at the precipice of intense creation, but we're so scared of it that we sit there and we're like, nah, maybe I'll die. That's a safer option.
Well, you know what? You know what? This is what I'm going to say to that, and I can have so much fun with this because this is the conversation I have with the universe or whatever you want to call it, whatever the hell that is, right? I mean, and it'll be like I could end up, who knows? But there's something, and I can feel it in this incarnation. I know this thing's going just to continue to expand, and for me, I think what it might look like or be semi-regulated by will be us literally in every moment seeing things for what they are. And I'm talking about some high level, mind-blowing, way beyond Kundalini, way beyond soulgasm kind of sensation and feeling and experience. I think we're stepping up in dimension in a way that doesn't happen, maybe doesn't happen typically in a collective manner. And if it does, and if it has happened, it's had to be a huge part of the expansions of creation. Maybe it's that yuga thing that every 26,000 years or whatever the case is. But I think we're in the golden age.
Yeah. So it's one of those for sure. Yeah.
For sure. Crazy. You sound like you're from Texas, for sure.
For sure.
I'm
Canadian, eh?
Canadian, eh? So yeah, that was a great description. I think I'm going to download this, and I'm going to cut out that piece, and I'm going to work on a new Sology remix, something fresh, something new with that type of information that Kirsty, Elizabeth, and Morgan talked about on that show yesterday. There was some powerful stuff in there, real time,
Yeah.
Like what you just talked about. We need to get that out there. How do you get it out there? I mean, I guess it's,
Yeah, I mean, it will land on whoever needs to hear it. It's one of those things that we're at the point where you don't really, honestly, Todd, even if people didn't love you and didn't give you any money for your restream, I'm not saying that people don't love you, but say they didn't, your information would still get out there because it's just one of those things that it punctuates all linear logic anyways. And whoever it's supposed to land on and inspire them, it will land on. So it's one of those things where it doesn't matter the how, as long as you set the what, the how will flow effortlessly. And if you're like the type of person that loves magic, it will magically show up in your life. There are other people that are scared of magic, so it'll show up a little bit more linearly, like, hey, here's Restream. So it's one of those things where it just depends on where you're at in your own personal journey on your own reality, right?
Well, I think too, we're experiencing things and seeing them for what they are, not from a perspective of, the Matrix. Oh shit, this happened. Oh shit, that happened. Oh shit, this can't happen. And I think we're seeing we're making new choices. We're making choices that are you can say more heart-centered or whatever you want to say. I think there's that part of it. I think the humor is very, very important. I mean, I haven't been laughing as much the last 10 days, but I think this last 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever has been, based on everything I'm seeing from people, an exception to what we've experienced before. So I'm not making excuses, but it's been an MF at times, but it's been okay too, because you can see the light. You can see, the clarity's getting, better. Yeah.
And even if it doesn't turn out all right, as long as you have other people to laugh with, it eases the suffering. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's just like part of it is reaching out to your community. If you feel isolated, if you feel like you're kind of floating and you're not sure, whatever it is, just put it out into the universe and it will reverberate back. If you have excess of anything, abundance of hugs, I think someone is a serial hugger on here. You can go out and do that. I'm not a hugger, so don't come near me.
Are you a psychic? How do you know there's somebody that's a serial hugger? Are you a psychic?
Because I saw the comment. There's a serial hugger somewhere on your list here. So or whatever it is, whatever your gift is that makes you feel good, share that out there. And what happens is it just gets amplified when you're near frequencies that are similar to your own. So it's one of those things that it's a great time to come out and meet people, and shamelessly plug Soulogy Fest one more time. Plus, don't forget, we also have lots of swag on Soulogy.com, right? You have swag there?
SoulogyNetwork.com.
Network.com. So
Yes.
There's t-shirts, there's mugs, there's hat. So if you want to support Todd and the crew with that purchase, if you can't come, it would be lovely. Anything goes.
Yeah, and Serial Hugger is my middle name too.
Oh yeah,
You got two
Anna.
serial huggers. I thought you were a psychic. I thought,
No.
you had some type of skill I didn't know about.
No, I'm just well read and I pay attention. It's not that hard.
Do you like do cards, like tarot cards?
I used to when I started my journey. So I think when my son was born, which is about 14 years ago, I started playing with the cards a little bit. But I dropped all of that, to be honest with you. I understand it depends on where you are in your journey. Some people feel they need tools for confirmation from the universe, right? But I'm at the point in my journey where I'm pretty confident that whatever falls out of my mouth is gold.
Okay, we're gonna do something. Hang on. This is spontaneous. This is what it's all about.
I don't need tarot cards anymore. And so so if it comes in and it's for somebody, I just say it and I get like all these weird stares, and sometimes people get really uncomfortable with it.
Here's what we're gonna do. Before we get out of here, we gotta how do you read these? Okay, so let me show you something. These are Gayatri's dragon cards. All right.
Yes.
There's a front, there's a back, and it looks like, apparently, because I haven't. Okay, wait a minute. All right. Yeah, they are. Okay, so what we're going to do, since you're the dragon lady, and I believe you have some untapped psychic skills, right?
Sure.
So
we'll go with that.
I want you to touch these with your hand. Reach through the ether. You got it? All right. Okay. I'm going to do this one time. And I'm going to. What's the subject? Or you just want to read the card?
Blue. I see a lot of blue. I'm visual. I see a lot of blue.
There's some blue.
There's some blue.
Yeah. Now, these cards don't have words. Now, she has a book that goes with it. But I'm not about to read it. What are you getting from that?
Something about self-confidence on that one, or self-esteem. Oh, yeah. See, it says boundaries at the bottom.
Oh, it does?
But those two, self-confidence and self-esteem, come up. So it doesn't, so boundaries is.
There's Gayatri. There's Gayatri.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people, I think that's perfect. A lot of people are re-examining their boundaries.
Yes,
very good. They're more confident, like their self-esteem. A lot of people have confidence and self-esteem issues, hence having the need to pull tarot cards to say what you need to say, right? To get confirmation through. So you don't need to. You could just say, you know what? I value myself, that I no longer need to experience this. So then you have to put up boundaries, because one of the things that's happening right now is, like, speaking about orgies, there's a huge energy orgy fest right now where people don't know when to stop of taking your excess energy. So a lot of people are putting up boundaries to keep their energy intact and not entangled with others. So it's one of those things where, whether your boundaries, the biggest boundaries being put up is with your relationships, whether that be with your partner or your family or your friends, where you're just like, you know what, this is not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm going to put up some boundaries that keep me safe so I don't get entangled with that. And that is a huge lesson. I mean, myself, I had to do that. And being pretty confident, I'm naturally pretty confident. I can say almost narcissistic. But it was one of those things where I had to put up boundaries, which is a very strange, because I have tons of energy that people can more than welcome to have, but some of the boundaries were really hard to say, no, you know what? I'm not going to get entangled with this drama because it's not my drama. It's none of my business. I don't need to save you. You can save your own ass. So
I had this thing I never really have resonated with card readings, and I'm so happy this happened spontaneously. I think this is going to be a new thing we have to do at least once a month. Get together with these dragon cards. It's going to be like when Johnny Carson did the show and he put that medium hat on and he would read the envelopes. Oh, that's probably before you. Okay, we're going to do one more.
One more?
That's what's on all of them. That's the one that's on all the cards. Okay, so I'm going to give it to you again. I'll show it to you.
I see green.
Okay, there's green. So this is this one, and it's called, what does that say?
Insight.
Insight.
Huh. That's a weird dragon. Not sure how I can read that one, to be honest. I'm not connecting with that dragon.
Oh, I'm connecting with it.
Well, what's your read?
Well, when I saw it, the first thing I saw was the eyes and the beak. So I immediately saw a bird. It's a dragon. Don't get me wrong. And then on the top of it, it was I thought it was like a hat, or something like that. But then I realized it's feathers. And if you look at the feathers, for me anyway, it's like this really ancient knowledge, like in the third eye. And then the ears to me were like three things: fish, like the gills or whatever.
Yep.
Butterfly, right?
Yep.
And something else I can't remember. Okay. And then they're here in the middle with those colors, the orange, yellow, purple. I don't know where that is. It's like Native American, indigenous. And then the bottom part to me, I could go on, but the bottom part to me, it's very feminine. It's like frequency, vibration. And it's like, to me, like that circle of the blue is like the grandmothers.
Well, that's probably why I couldn't read it. It's on the feminine scale. I can't relate to that.
she said this one, owl. Okay. Owl, eagle, dragon, wisdom. Gayatri said this one shape shifted while I was painting it. Pretty funny. What'd you say? What was so funny? What are you talking about?
No, I said because it's more feminine. That's probably why I can't read it. That frequency just I don't relate to that.
Yeah, like what you explained too with that first card. Again, like Morgan and others. I mean, I listened to her with Kirsty Elizabeth yesterday, and she was totally on the same wavelength. And like this is what's happening. What you described, this is beyond detachments, beyond surrender. I mean, is this like the first time you really feel like you're in 5D?
Well, if it is, I'm going to say it's not. It's kind of overrated. If this is
okay.
5D is emptiness. So it's like the platform to create, but you're so, I don't know. I guess because we've been
so, you know what?
We've been so limited.
I just want you to know I pulled a card from the middle, and this name of this card is, and I shit you not, I didn't cheat.
I can't see it. It's blurry. You got to
pull
it back.
It's trying to, hang on.
Pull it back. Then it'll focus.
There you go.
Abundance.
Abundance, biatch, all right? This is what it's about. Now look at this. Look at this beautiful white.
Ah, yes. The original creator dragons.
There we go.
Yeah, creation. But that's the thing, right? Like you have all of this blank negative space to create, and you just sit there traumatized because you're like, I have no boundaries. I'm limitless. I don't even know where to go. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's right now it's overrated.
Well, we'll get used to it. I think
Yes.
that's probably the biggest challenge, and that's a high class problem. Is how do you get used to being this? How do you get used to being in an environment where nothing's personal? We're just being what's good for you at all times. It changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes everything. And I have a feeling we're gonna, like this journey always is. You always end up going right back to where you started, in a better way, with a different perspective.
Yeah.
But I think we're just it's to me it's kind of like we got birthed, or we're getting birthed, or however you want to say it. And there's people
even with birth, there's like some kind of story with it. This one's not even a story with birth, right? It's just like, hello, we're here. So
knock. There's
a billion of us. Don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants to do anything. You know what I mean? You're kind of like, yeah, we'll see. I'm sure there will be some kind of inspiration where you
we could be, like those coliseums, like a stadium, like where they have it's on the, the bottom, and it goes up in tiers, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we could wake up in the middle of the coliseum with billions around us and just laughing at us.
Well, of course, that's happening. Obviously, I assume that's happening. Have you seen our species? I'm gonna say we're not the brightest crayons in the box when it comes to the galaxy. I'm telling you, but that's part of the human experience, right?
Well, it's always a paradox.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think our wisdom is not something we give ourselves credit for, but there's got to be a wisdom to sticking around here.
You hope. I hope there's something brilliant that comes out of the end of this.
Well, they're either going to say that,
hey, could be one of those. Yeah, it's like
they were brave.
You're in your last season, and you're like, well, that was shit. You finished the season, and you're like, that was underrated. That was an underwhelming experience. What is the point? But we'll finish it on that note.
Yeah. We're either gonna go down in history as being the bravest of the brave or the stupidest of the stupid.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Hey, I need to go integrate that. That's not a bad idea. All right. You take care. I love you.
Thank you.